for today and the year is Zrodlowski, presenting his thesis titled The Potential Benefits of a Collaboration Between Fossil Fuels and Renewable Energy.
The topic of energy is an extremely important current matter that is relevant to the entire world. Fossil fuels are a fuel, such as coal, oil, or natural gas, formed in the earth from plant or animal remains. Because they are formed from the organisms of past living creatures, they are a limited resource. The obvious solution to this projected depletion of fossil fuels would be to find and produce an energy source that is not so easily depleted, as well as to increase the efficiency of our energy usage. One suggestion that follows this solution is the use of renewable energy. However, the truth is that the technologies we currently have for renewable energy are nowhere near where we need them to be in terms of raw power output to supply for the whole world. Instead of choosing a single side in the energy debate, arguing for either renewable energy or fossil fuels exclusively, the world should seek a collaboration of the two and utilize the benefits of each. This approach to the question warrants consideration due to the efficiency and availability of fossil fuels, the current state of renewables and their potential, and because of the impacts of both forms of energy on the world and climate. Some believe that fossil fuels need to be phased out as soon as possible. One of the main proponents of phasing out fossil fuels is Tim Donaghy, an employee and writer at Greenpeace. Donaghy argues that fossil fuels need to be entirely replaced by renewables as soon as possible because of the way they destroy our climate, the way fossil fuels unjustly treat people, and the way they take advantage of people's money. People who oppose the use of fossil fuels often frame their argument around concerns over global warming and pollution. He would argue that this is a detrimental prospect not only because of how dangerous the fuels are for our climate, but also because of the pollution they cause. Donaghy argues this because burning fossil fuels and gathering them releases particulate pollutants, smog, soot, PM2.5, into the air that are dangerous for human life as well as the environment. While there is some truth in this argument, it makes fossil fuels seem worse than they actually are. The first point mentioned in this counterargument is that of global warming. Global warming has terrible effects, such as catastrophic weather events, sea levels rising, glaciers melting, ecosystem destruction, crop failure, economic hardship, and so on. There's an argument that if fossil fuels were to stop being used, things could actually be worse. Why is this the case? Well, because of the amount they provide the world. They provide the US currently with 60% of its energy, and other places in the world even more so. The benefits outweigh the drawbacks. Alex Epstein, author of the book The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, argues that without the quick, efficient, and available energy fossil fuels provide, many more millions of people would actually die due to harsh conditions than to pollution. Fossil fuels also help developing countries become more economically stable, lifting millions out of poverty. So this gives rise to the question, do the benefits of fossil fuels make things such as pollution and climate change worth it? Epstein's answer is a definitive and harsh yes, and his reasons are quite compelling. Again, there is no solution. No perfect solution, sorry. Pollution and climate change are terrible things, but we must keep in mind what leaving fossil fuels behind might do. In conclusion, arguments like Donaghy's say this: fossil fuels need to be entirely replaced by renewables as soon as possible because of the way they destroy our climate and the way that fossil fuel companies unjustly treat people. However, to counter, fossil fuels do not need to be phased out as soon as possible because of the immense amount of benefit they bring to the world. Fossil fuels are extremely efficient and accessible to us, which is why they have been used so much for such a considerable amount of time. In fact, evidence shows that not only should we continue using fossil fuels, but maybe we should even continue using more. A proponent of this theory is Alex Epstein. Epstein is known for being an avid supporter of fossil fuels and is against the idea that they should be replaced by renewables. In his book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, he builds his argument for fossil fuels. A main reason we should continue to use them is because of their availability. As we use them, we discover more, making them all the more available to us. Why is this though? For years, predictions have been made on how much time we have until we will run out of each type of fuel, and predictions seem to continue changing just every few years. It is just simply too difficult and complicated to accurately predict the future global supply of fossil fuels because there are too many variables to account for. According to Epstein, we have barely scratched the surface of what the Earth has to offer because we are barely in the Earth's crust. The actual amount of fossil fuels below the crust and mantle is unknown, but is suspected to be a significant amount. In fact, it could be an immense amount due to the theory that fossil fuels are able to form out of carbon alone. The premise of this suggests that there is no need for the existence of life prior if carbon deposits in the Earth's mantle are deep enough to where they experience extreme high heat and pressure, forming them into fossil fuel deposits, primarily oil in the form of petroleum. Epstein's essential idea is that we will use fossil fuels to harvest more fossil fuels, and we will use them to then make advancements in technology that allow us to harvest even more. Another reason to use fossil fuels is because of how economically efficient they are due to the vast amount of infrastructure already in place. Coal plants currently convert around 33% of the energy in coal into electricity, more advanced plants up to 45%. Natural gas plants currently convert around 33 to 43%, but newer plants that use a secondary turbine system to capture the exhaust and spin another turbine, 60% conversion rate. Finally, oil power plants have around a 32% efficiency rate. And now if we compare these efficiency values to the value of renewables, solar panels average around a 22% efficiency rate, with more advanced plants reaching 25, wind turbine farms 35%, with higher end farms reaching 47, and finally hydro, the most efficient, reaching around 90% or higher. The values are relatively the same, except for hydro, with fossil fuels generally having a better efficiency. As well as, with the amount of infrastructure in place and the amount that America relies on fossil fuels already, it is clear to see that renewables, though good, will not come close to replacing the great benefits of fossil fuels anytime soon. Oil pipelines currently span 190,000 miles, and natural gas lines 2.4 million miles. That equates to a staggering 2.6 million miles of pipelines, as well as around 220 coal plants, 2,000 natural gas plants, and 132 oil plants. It would be simply too expensive and inefficient to replace all of this infrastructure, and so we should continue reaping the energy benefits these plants and pipelines are currently supplying us with. The main form of energy that many people advocate should replace fossil fuels is renewable energy. However, instead of trying to replace fossil fuels entirely, renewables should be seen as a supplement to fossil fuels that allow us to preserve energy for a longer span of time. There are currently three main renewable energy sources: solar, wind, and hydro, as mentioned earlier. Solar is the largest source of technical potential out of the renewable energy sources at 347,775 terawatt hours. For reference, this is 85 times the amount the US used in 2020. However, nowhere near this amount of solar power was produced in 2020, with only 140 terawatt hours produced, a fractional amount of the potential 347,000. To reach this potential of over 300,000, a report from Adrian Brooks, a senior technical advisor from the US Department of Energy, has suggested for scientists and databases to collaborate and share results more. This will allow for technological advancement in solar panels to be done more efficiently. Solar power is certainly still a greatly beneficial supplement to the world's energy supply, and with continual advancement in technology, it becomes more viable every year. The second form of main sources of renewable energy is hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power has the lowest potential energy, as its potential production is only estimated at 661 terawatt hours. While this is incredibly low compared to the others, hydroelectric has many advantages over the other forms of renewable energy, and actually produces, as of 2020, 291 terawatt hours, the second largest contributor to renewable energy. This is due to just how efficient and cheap hydroelectric power is. There are not many problems with this form of energy, and due to its simplicity and efficiency, the only thing that can make more power come from it is powering more dams and building more plants. This form of power is the perfect supplement to our energy supply. It is good for the planet in terms of emissions, it's simple, inexpensive, and incredibly efficient. The third and final form of renewable energy that is a large contributor to the renewable energy supply is wind power. Wind power is similar to hydroelectric power in that it is extremely efficient. It also produces the most energy for renewables, producing 338 terawatt hours as of 2020, and the main form of wind power, land-based, has a potential of 24,774 terawatt hours. So wind power has a good balance of being currently efficient, as it is producing the most of the renewables thus far, and has a high ceiling of producing much more energy. After discussing the current rate of renewable energy, it is clear to see that they do not currently reach the US or the world's energy needs, only providing 21% of the total amount of electricity the US used. It is also clear to see that they hold a high potential energy, and that the future is bright for renewable energy. They are already a great supplement to fossil fuels and produce no emissions, which preserve the Earth. Advancements will continue to be made, and renewable energy will become a bigger contributor to the world's energy demands each year. In conclusion, instead of choosing a single side in the energy debate, arguing either for renewable fuels or fossil fuels exclusively, world leaders, and especially politicians in America, should seek a collaboration of the two and utilize the benefits of each. Fossil fuels simply cannot be replaced because of how much the world, and especially America, uses them. There's too much infrastructure already in place, and they are too efficient to not use. Renewable energy, especially in its current forms, cannot fully or efficiently replace fossil fuels. However, they play an important role as a supplemental energy source. Though not yet perfected, they have great potential as their efficiency improves with time. Both fossil fuels and renewable forms of energy work well together, each bringing its own benefits to the energy industry. Moving forward, Americans should be aware of the pros and cons of each energy source and should take these into consideration when making decisions such as buying electric vehicles or installing solar panels on their home. Additionally, being overall more energy conscious and not wasting energy by doing simple things such as not leaving unnecessary lights on will not only help your personal expenses, but can also make a small contribution to the world in saving some energy. Thank you.